Solar erasers, where she got those. She wrote it up here too. This is the website, UncleMilton.com. Uncle Milton Industries. The Boom Whackers. There's actually BoomWhackers.com. I don't know what are the zinc toys? Oh, the poppers. Yeah. Great. Sportsies, CBs, Baldies, zinc toys. Okay. Oh, she's got. This is the Zing Pocket Toys website. Zingtoys.com. And then the Boom Whackers. There's actually, you can watch YouTube videos of the Boom Whackers. So you can have fun with that. Okay. All right, so let's talk about some of these activities. I'm going to go ahead and turn this off. Actually, let me leave. I'll leave the projector on in case we can use it. Okay, so let's talk about some of these activities. Let's first talk about the mystery. We'll go through each one of these activities. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the questions you struggled with, or maybe you completely figured out they were easy. So let's talk about some of them. So the mystery spheres. So you had an activity where you dropped. There was 2 black rubber spheres that you dropped, right? What did you find there? You guys are going to make me laugh. Let's not get started down that road. All right, so what happened?
Bounced and the other one just kind of...
It was dead, right? So what do we think accounts for the difference between those two?
What stuff is what?
Okay, I mean, what was kind of weird about that, though? I mean, could you tell that one was going to be...
Yeah.
You could?
I mean, one was... Yeah, there was a difference in the weight, but one was shiny and the other one was dull.
Right.
A little different, but I didn't think it was going to be that drastic of a change.
One was like a mushier kind of rubber, and the other one was a harder rubber.
I didn't feel any difference. They felt the same to me in my head.
Did you think they were going to be both?
No, I mean, I knew that there was something about them, but to me, she said she felt I could feel it. They felt it.
It's a pretty dramatic. I mean, did you see a pretty dramatic difference in how they bounce?
Oh, sure.
So what do you think? So let's talk. I mean, this is a little bit of a hard question to answer because we don't know the details here of how they're made. But what do you think is different?
Actually, there was a thing in there that said.
Oh, yeah, I guess you could describe it. So let's talk about it. I mean, it's actually kind of neat. It's kind of polymer chemistry.
Yeah.
But it actually you can understand it in a fairly simple way. So you want to try to?
It said that the one that didn't bounce, whatever the chemical, one of them had long chains that allowed it to like stretch, and so their heat energy was not lost, so it actually bounced up almost as high as it was dropped. But the other one, whatever the structure was, it had some kind of ring structure. I don't know. Yeah. But whatever the structure was, absorbed the heat.
Yeah.
So the energy went into heat energy, and then they said the heat of it, I mean, it actually increased in temperature if you measure it technically, I guess. So, but that's where the energy went into the heat of the structure of the wall.
Right. So that's exactly right. So let me see if I can help you think about this a little bit more. Any kind of polymer materials, plastics, I think we've talked a little bit about this in the past. Plastics or even rubber are made out of long chain molecules called polymers. Okay? And the way, if you really went down on a macroscope, if you went down with a microscope and looked at the molecules, it would look like a big pile of spaghetti. Just random pile of spaghetti. It looks clear, it seems weird that that's what it would look like. But they're these long chain molecules. You have them in your body too. That's what proteins are, and that's what DNA are too. There's lots of polymers around, these long chain molecules. The difference between the bouncy ball and the one that doesn't bounce as much is that the one that doesn't bounce as much, on that chain, there are large, bulky side loops. Like it's kind of a rubber chain. So when it bounces, they slide past each other and they can't come back. And so it actually or it takes longer for them to come back. And so it actually can't give you back the energy. So it really has to do with the chemicals that it's made out of. Yeah.
So also in there, and we didn't get a chance to try this, but it said that if you got the bouncy one cold, it wouldn't bounce as well.
Yep.
Because I guess you're changing the elasticity or whatever the structure is. But it said if you took the non-bouncy one and got it really cold or really hot, it would get bouncier.
Right. Well, so this has to do, so you're asking, this is getting into some fairly complicated, but not hard to understand.
I understand maybe
Physics.
getting the bouncy one cold, maybe.
So what it does is it allows you, so what it all has to do with is the time scales that allow this motion to happen, okay? So with the one that's not bouncy, it gets knocked into a configuration where it takes it a while to relax, okay? Does that make sense?
Yep.
So it doesn't bounce back. It eventually comes back to the same size, but it doesn't bounce back. If you get it really cold, it won't even do. It'll be more like the bouncy ball. It won't even do this longer range motion. So it'll be able to give you that energy back. It's kind of complicated, but what it has to do with time scales of the relaxation. It's like you want to think about rubber bands. How quickly can this rubber band relax back? In some cases, the rubber band takes a long time to relax back, and sometimes it takes a shorter time. But this particular example is a little complex how those two balls work. But the important part is to help you understand or help you think about elasticity. Some objects have this property where they can be squeezed and then they can release their energy back, and that's something that's an object that's got elastic behavior. And there are some objects that are quote-unquote inelastic. And part of where the energy is going in those cases is to what? When you drop it, where does that energy go? Some of it is definitely going into heat. Some of it's going into sound. But when you see that total loss of energy there, or mostly a loss of energy, a lot of that's going, then you actually are heating up the ball.
We listen to the sounds.
Yep.
And the the more bouncier one, I should say, went, and the other one just plopped.
Yep.
So that was interesting. And yeah, it also makes me think of skin. Like young skin has a lot of collagen in it, so it's more elastic.
Yep.
And over time.
Well, see, don't get me started with that because that's my research. So I don't know if you guys, some of you were at my original talk, but I study proteins that are stretchy, and that's exactly right. In your body, you have molecules that are designed to give you elasticity, are designed for their elastic behavior. So you have rubber band type materials in your body. There's a molecule called elastin. Yeah, exactly. And that's responsible for the elasticity of your skin and your blood vessels.
Is that bulletproof vest technology also?
Well, Kevlar. People are studying things like spider silk. Spider silk is a kind of material that actually is analogous to Kevlar because it can absorb, for the same reason, right? Instead of catching a bullet, it catches flies. It absorbs a lot of energy, and so people are looking at proteins in biomaterials like spider silk for their energy absorption. Actually, it's an interesting point. We haven't really talked about this. You might say, well, which material is better? The material that bounces a lot of the material that doesn't. It kind of depends on what you want it to do. A bulletproof vest, what you want it to do is absorb energy. Right? You want it to absorb that energy. It's going to damage that vest, but you don't care. You're not going to use that vest all the time. It's only going to be used in operation once. It'll absorb all that energy. It takes all that kinetic energy out of that bullet and dissipates it. It probably gets hot. I imagine if you get shot with a bulletproof vest, that bulletproof vest gets super hot, I guess. Okay, let's talk about the hopper poppers. That's a pretty weird one, right? Okay, so when you have this hopper popper, let's think about this. You all did this experiment. As you hold this thing in your hand up here, does it possess energy? I've asked you this question several times. What's the answer? What's the answer here? Does it have energy? What kind of energy? What kind of energy?
Gravitational.
Okay, gravitational potential energy. What's that? Gravitational, the answer up here is gravitational potential energy and elastic potential energy. Does everybody buy that? Okay, why does it have both? How does it have both? Of course you can, of course you can. But I'm just asking you, account for both. So you kind of load it, it's like loading a spring, right? Okay, so you have two types of energy up here, right? Two types of potential energy. Great. So I think that's a really good way of thinking about it. You've got potential energy in two forms. Gravitational potential energy and this elastic potential energy. So you load it and you put energy into it. So let's talk about this. Where did that energy come from? Who provided it? You provided it, right? How did you provide the gravitational potential energy?
You drop it with a drop.
Yeah, you all raised it.
We raised it.
And how did you provide the elastic potential energy? Yeah.
But you also had to spin it.
Spinning it too. Spinning it is complicated. I'm not going to claim I completely. So we should talk about the spinning because I'm not convinced I completely. I have my idea of why the spin. I think the spinning is mostly for keeping it. Yeah, it gives it rotational inertia so it stays straight. But you may have a different idea of why that's happening.
Yeah, I noticed what I didn't spin.
Yeah, it didn't.
It didn't go down flat.
Right. I think
Spin it, it goes forward.
yeah, it maintains. It's like a bicycle wheel. It's maintaining. It doesn't turn as much. Okay, so let's talk about this. When you dropped it, I've got a question. Yes.
I had a question. We're talking about potential energy when you pull the spring back or something like that. I had a question between the two balls that we have because one bounces higher and it's used with different material, whatever it is.
Yep.
Does that technically have more potential energy than it? Because we're not actually doing anything to it. It's
Well-
already in it.
It's
I'm
not
talking
in
about
it.
gravitational potential energy. I'm talking about like the same elasticity potential energy.
But where does that elastic energy get loaded in?
I mean, when it hits the ground, but
So so there is no elastic potential energy when you're holding them up here.
okay, so that's what I was wondering. Because when we put the spring back, or like you said with the other thing, it becomes potential energy there.
Well, in the case of
If everything is still, or nothing's happening with it. So
No, that's because you flipped it inside out.
Right.
No, we're talking about
Yeah,
we're talking about the elastic.
So the hopper popper and the super balls are fundamentally different in this way. You're bringing up a good point. The super ball does not have any elastic potential energy. Does everybody agree with that when it's up in the air? Does everybody agree with? Well, let's talk about
That's
it.
sort of my question.
That's your question. Well, it kind of makes sense that it doesn't, right? But you're asking how does that? Maybe it doesn't. But let's go through this. When it hits the ground and it's squeezed,
It becomes
that's
loaded.
where you're loading that spring.
Right.
Okay.
So the other spring is just weaker
Well, the other spring doesn't give it back.
than the other ball.
So there's not really, I mean, it gets squeezed down, but there's not as much elastic potential energy because it's not elastic. It doesn't get it back. Okay. But this hopper popper up here has both things as we just described. All right. One of the things. So the next question is, did you find that it would sometimes go higher than where you dropped it?
Yeah.
All right. So how is that possible?
We predicted that if you dropped it closer to the ground, it's still spinning at a faster rate. The spin itself doesn't decelerate as much, whereas if you dropped it from higher up. And so we thought maybe that there was more potential energy.
Well, let's talk about. So let's get back to this. The spin, I think, might
Or maybe
complicate
it
things.
stayed more steady
Just stabilize.
because it had less air resistance the closer you were when you dropped it. But when we dropped it like 18 inches off the ground, it bounced up higher than me, and I'm 5'7".
Okay, we're getting at one of the questions here. So the first question is, does it go higher? So let's say one of your students asked you this. You just taught us about potential energy and kinetic energy, and I dropped this hopper popper, and it's going higher than where it started. So